How many times have you looked back on a relationship and thought, you know what? I should have seen that coming. Well, today, we're gonna talk about just that. We're gonna get real, we're gonna get honest, and we're gonna talk about the red flags that you just can't afford to ignore. I've spent decades helping people navigate the choppy waters of relationships, and I can tell you one thing for sure. The warning signs are always there. You just have to be willing to open your eyes and see them for what they are. It's not about being cynical, it's about being smart. It's about protecting your heart and your well-being. Today, we're focusing on a particularly nasty bunch of red flags, all starting with the letter D. Think of it as your D-Day for relationship awareness. We're talking about things like detachment, dishonesty, deceit, and a whole lot more. These aren't just minor annoyances. These are relationship killers. These are the big, flashing neon signs screaming, danger ahead. Recognizing these signs isn't about pointing fingers or placing blame. It's about empowering yourself with knowledge. Because when you know better, you do better. You deserve a relationship that builds you up, not one that drains you dry. So, I want you to lean in, listen up, and be brutally honest with yourself. Are any of these D words showing up in your life? Are you making excuses for behavior that you know deep down is unacceptable? It's time to stop sweeping things under the rug. It's time to stop hoping things will magically get better. Today is the day we start paying attention. Because recognizing these warning signs is the first most critical step toward either fixing what's broken or having the courage to walk away from something that's beyond repair. Let's get to it. Let's start with a big one. Detachment. This isn't just about needing a little space now and then. We all need that. I'm talking about a cold, persistent emotional distance. It's when you're sitting right next to your partner, but you feel like you're a million miles away. You try to connect, to talk about your day, your feelings, your fears, and what you get back is a blank stare. You get a one-word answer, you get a grunt while they stare at their phone. It's like talking to a brick wall. Only a brick wall doesn't pretend to be in a relationship with you. This emotional void is a cancer in a relationship. It eats away at intimacy, trust, and the very foundation of your connection. You start to feel lonely, not when you're alone, but when you're with them. That's a profound, painful kind of loneliness. You wonder, do they even care? Do they see me? Do I matter at all? You start to question your own worth because the person who is supposed to be your biggest cheerleader has become a silent, indifferent spectator in your life. This isn't just a phase. It's a fundamental breakdown of the emotional contract of a partnership. And let me be clear, this isn't on you to fix alone. You can't love someone hard enough to make them engaged. You can't talk enough for the both of you. A relationship is a two-way street, and when one person has emotionally checked out, they've essentially put up a permanent roadblock. If you're constantly fighting to get a flicker of emotion, a crumb of connection from your partner, you're not in a relationship. You're in a one-person show, and you're exhausting yourself for an audience of one who isn't even paying attention. That's a huge red flag. Now let's talk about something that isn't subtle at all. It's not a hint, it's not a whisper. It's a legal document screaming that your marriage is over. I'm talking about being served with divorce papers. There is no ambiguity here. This is a clear, definitive statement that one person has made the decision to legally dissolve the union. For some, it's a shock. They thought things were rocky, sure, but they never thought it would come to this. They were in denial, making excuses, hoping for a turnaround that was never going to happen. For others, it's a grim, painful confirmation of what they already knew in their hearts. The fighting, the silence, the separate lives lived under one roof. It was all leading to this moment. But even when you expect it, the reality of those papers in your hand is a gut punch. It's the official end of a chapter. It's the death of the future you once planned together. It represents a failure, and that's a tough pill for anyone to swallow. It's a formal declaration that we are done, and the process of untangling your lives is about to begin. Receiving divorce papers is the ultimate red flag that has been ignored for too long. It's the consequence of all the smaller, unaddressed issues that were allowed to fester and grow. It's the final resounding signal that communication has completely broken down and one or both parties see no path forward together. When you're at this point, the focus shifts from "how do we fix this?" to "how do we survive this?" It is a stark, undeniable sign that the relationship as you knew it has reached its legal and emotional endpoint. This brings us to a concept I call the die is cast. It's that moment in a relationship when an action is taken or a decision is made that is irreversible. It's a point of no return. This might not always be as formal as divorce papers, but it's just as final. It could be one partner telling the other, "I never loved you." You can't unsay that. You can't unhear that. The trust and the perception of your entire history together are shattered in that single moment. The die has been cast. It could be a profound betrayal, like having a child with another person. That's not something you can just apologize for and move on from. It fundamentally alters the landscape of your lives forever. It creates a new reality that the original relationship simply cannot survive intact. These are the moments that break the back of a partnership. They are actions so significant, so damaging, that they permanently change the rules of the game. Any attempt to go back to the way things were is a fantasy. Recognizing when the die has been cast is crucial. Too many people try to glue the pieces of a shattered vase back together, pretending the cracks aren't there. But the vase will never hold water again. Acknowledging that an irreversible event has occurred is not giving up. It's facing reality. It's understanding that the relationship you had is over, and you cannot rebuild on a foundation that has been nuked from orbit. Continuing to try is just signing up for more pain and heartbreak. It's the ultimate red flag that you must change course. Let's talk about doubt. Not the fleeting, "did I leave the stove on" kind of doubt. I'm talking about a deep, corrosive doubt that settles into the marrow of your relationship. It's a persistent, nagging feeling that something is wrong. You start doubting your partner's words. You question where they've been. You scrutinize their stories, looking for inconsistencies. You become a detective in your own home, and let me tell you, that is an exhausting, full-time job that doesn't pay a dime. This kind of doubt doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's born from a pattern of behavior. It's the result of broken promises, white lies, and shady actions. It's the consequence of your intuition screaming at you that what you're being told doesn't match up with what you're seeing and feeling. Trust is the bedrock of a healthy relationship, and doubt is the jackhammer that pulverizes it into dust. Once it's gone, it is incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to rebuild. You can't have intimacy without trust. You can't have peace without trust. When you live in a state of constant doubt, you live in a state of constant anxiety. You're always on edge, waiting for the other shoe to drop. This isn't a partnership. It's a hostage situation where your peace of mind is the captive. If you find yourself constantly questioning your partner's honesty, their fidelity, their intentions, that is a massive red flag. A healthy relationship should be your safe harbor, not a source of perpetual uncertainty and suspicion. Pay attention to that doubt. It's your gut telling you something you need to hear. Disloyalty. This word hits hard, and it should. Loyalty is the glue that holds a partnership together through thick and thin. It's the unspoken promise that says, "I have your back." It's you and me against the world. Disloyalty is the act of breaking that sacred promise. And I'm not just talking about infidelity, although that is certainly a prime example. Disloyalty can take many forms, and all of them are toxic to the health of a relationship. It's a fundamental violation of the team dynamic. It's the partner who badmouths you to their friends or family, airing your private struggles for public consumption. It's the person who sides with an outsider against you in an argument. It's the partner who puts their own selfish needs, wants, and desires ahead of the well-being of the relationship time and time again. It's a conscious choice to prioritize someone or something else over your partner and the sanctity of your bond. It says, "You are not my priority. This team is not my priority." When you experience disloyalty, it creates a deep wound. It makes you feel exposed, foolish, and alone. How can you trust someone who has demonstrated that they will not defend you, protect you, or honor you? You can't. Disloyalty severs the lifeline of trust and respect. It turns your teammate into an opponent. If you're with someone who consistently demonstrates that their allegiance lies elsewhere, you need to recognize that for the giant, waving red flag that it is. You deserve a partner who is firmly in your corner, not one who stabs you in the back. Dishonesty is the termite of relationships. It may start small, with little white lies that seem harmless. No, that new outfit doesn't make you look bad. Of course I'm not mad. But the problem is, once you start lying, it's a slippery slope. Those small, seemingly insignificant lies create a habit of untruth. They pave the way for bigger lies, more significant deceptions, until you're living in a web of dishonesty so tangled that you don't even know what's real anymore. A relationship cannot survive without truth. Honesty is the currency of trust. Every time you lie to your partner, you are devaluing that currency. You are chipping away at the foundation of your connection. Whether it's lying about where you were, who you were with, how much money you spent, or your true feelings about something, it's all poison. It creates a dynamic where one person is constantly trying to manage a false reality and the other is left feeling confused, insecure, and crazy. And let's get one thing straight. "I was just trying to protect your feelings" is the worst excuse in the book. What you're really doing is protecting yourself from the consequences of the truth. You're being a coward. A real partner has the courage to be honest, even when it's hard. They respect you enough to tell you the truth, and they trust that you are strong enough to handle it. If you are in a relationship characterized by dishonesty, you are on a sinking ship. That lack of truth is a red flag that signals a fundamental lack of respect and integrity. Deceit is dishonesty with a PhD in manipulation. It's not just about telling a lie, it's about actively and intentionally creating a false narrative to mislead someone for your own gain. A deceitful person is a master of smoke and mirrors. They will twist facts, omit crucial details, and play on your emotions to control you and the situation. They're strategic in their dishonesty. Honestly, they're playing chess while you think you're just having a conversation. It's a calculated effort to undermine your reality. Deceitful behavior can be incredibly subtle and insidious. It's gaslighting, making you question your own sanity and perception. They'll say things like, "That never happened," "You're being too sensitive," or "You're imagining things." They do this to make you doubt yourself, which makes you easier to control. They create a world where they are the sole arbiters of truth, and your feelings and experiences are invalidated. It is a deeply toxic and abusive form of psychological manipulation. Living with a deceitful partner is like living in a funhouse full of distorted mirrors. You never get a clear picture of reality. You're constantly off balance, confused, and second-guessing yourself. This is not a partnership, it's a con game, and you are the mark. A deceitful person does not respect you. They see you as an object to be manipulated for their own purposes. If you feel like you're constantly being played, if your gut is telling you that you're being deliberately misled, that is not just a red flag, it's a 5-alarm fire. Get out. Have you ever ended a conversation with your partner and just felt exhausted? Not tired, but completely and utterly drained? Like all the life force has been sucked right out of you. That's a sign you might be in a relationship with an emotional vampire. This isn't about the normal ups and downs of supporting a partner through a tough time. This is a chronic, one-way flow of energy where you are constantly giving and they are constantly taking, with nothing ever coming back your way. These relationships are characterized by constant drama, negativity, and neediness. Every conversation revolves around their problems, their feelings, their crises. They feed off your sympathy, your attention, and your energy. You become their therapist, their cheerleader, their punching bag, and their sole source of validation, all rolled into one. You spend so much time and energy managing their emotions that you have nothing left for yourself. Your own needs, dreams, and well-being get put on the back burner indefinitely. A healthy relationship should be a source of energy. It should recharge your batteries, not drain them dry. It should be reciprocal, a give and take. If you consistently feel depleted, anxious, and emotionally exhausted after interacting with your partner, that is a huge red flag. It's a sign that the relationship is unbalanced and unhealthy. You are not a renewable resource for someone else's dysfunction. You have to protect your own energy and peace of mind. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and a relationship that drains you will eventually leave you empty. Sometimes the biggest threat to your relationship isn't inside it. It's an ex who refuses to let go. I'm talking about a deadly ex. Now, I don't necessarily mean physically deadly, although tragically that can happen. I'm talking about an ex who is toxic, manipulative, and dedicated to sabotaging your current happiness. This person doesn't respect boundaries. They call or text at all hours. They show up uninvited. They use children as pawns to maintain contact and create drama. This ex is a ghost that haunts your relationship. They create chaos, sow seeds of doubt, and intentionally try to drive a wedge between you and your partner. They might spread lies, play the victim, or constantly create emergencies that require your partner's attention. The goal is simple: to keep a foothold in your partner's life and make it impossible for your new relationship to flourish. It's a relentless campaign of disruption fueled by jealousy, bitterness, or an unwillingness to accept that the past is the past. The real red flag here is not just the ex's behavior, but how your current partner handles it. Do they set firm, clear boundaries? Do they shut down the inappropriate contact and prioritize your relationship? Or do they allow it to continue? Do they make excuses for the ex? Do they get drawn into the drama? If your partner is unwilling or unable to put a stop to the toxic influence of a deadly ex, then they are failing to protect your relationship. They are allowing the past to poison the present, and that spells disaster for your future. Let's talk about a very specific kind of betrayal, and we'll use a little saying here. The ex multiplied and robbed us on the island. So what in the world does that mean when it comes to relationships? Well, imagine the island as your most special place. It's your trust, your future plans, all those dreams you built together, and even your money matters. It's that private world you created as a couple. Now the ex in this story is the one who, after they've left, somehow finds a way to sneak back and take things from that island. This isn't just about feeling sad or having emotional baggage. This is about actual stuff being taken. Both things you can touch and things you can't. It's like the ex who, maybe through tricky legal stuff or by playing games, takes way more than they should in a breakup, leaving your partner with no money and unable to move on with you. Or it's the ex who turns all your shared friends against your partner, taking away their support system. And sometimes, it's the ex who messes with your precious memories by changing the story, making your partner look like the bad guy and themselves the good one. This makes it really hard for your partner to even trust their own past. This kind of robbing leaves a deep scar and a feeling of being violated, and it definitely spills over into your new relationship. Your partner might be dealing with money problems, emotional pain, or a ruined reputation, all because the ex decided to cause as much damage as possible when they left. The big warning sign for you, the new partner, is to see just how much damage has been done. You need to ask yourself if your partner is really trying to heal and rebuild, or if they're stuck feeling like a victim forever. Are they letting the ex's past actions keep stealing happiness and good things from your island right now? This situation gets complicated. The title, "Dadami Ex na May Third Party," means the exes with third parties are increasing. This really speaks to a pattern. It's not just about your partner having one ex. It's about your partner's romantic history being a tangled web of overlapping relationships and infidelity. The third party is the key. It means the previous relationship didn't just end, It ended because someone new entered the picture. And now, you're the new person. If your partner's last relationship ended because they started seeing you, you need to stop and think about that. How you get them is how you lose them. If they were willing to cheat on their last partner to be with you, what makes you think you're exempt from the same behavior down the line? You're starting a relationship on a foundation of deceit and betrayal. That's really not a strong start. It shows a character flaw, an inability to end one chapter cleanly before starting another. The bigger red flag is if this is a recurring theme in their past. If you find out that their relationship before that also ended because of a third party, and the one before that, well, you're not dating a person, you're dating a pattern. This person doesn't solve relationship problems. They escape them by jumping to the next person. They are constantly seeking the thrill of the new, and they lack the integrity to be faithful or to end things honorably. You may feel special now, but to them, you might just be the latest third party until the next one comes along. Sometimes a red flag isn't a specific behavior, it's a feeling. It's that single powerful word that erupts in your mind. Damn! It's the moment of clarity. It's when all the little annoyances, all the ignored warning signs, all the excuses you've been making suddenly coalesce into one undeniable truth. It's the damn, what am I doing? Moment. It's the damn, this is really not working moment. It's the damn, I deserve better than this moment. This realization often hits you after a particularly bad fight or after yet another broken promise. You're sitting there, in the quiet aftermath, and the fog just lifts. You see the relationship not for what you hoped it would be, but for what it actually is. You see the patterns of disrespect, the lack of effort, the emotional distance, and the weight of it all just hits you. Damn! It's a moment of profound frustration, disappointment, and sometimes deep sadness. Don't ignore that damn moment. It is one of the most honest and important red flags you will ever get. It's your soul, your intuition, your common sense finally breaking through the wall of denial you've built. It's a wake-up call. It's the universe tapping you on the shoulder and saying, hey, are you paying attention? Because you need to be. That feeling is a powerful catalyst for change. It's the point where you stop accepting the unacceptable and start considering a different path for yourself. Let's talk about the duwag, which means coward. In a relationship, a coward is someone who avoids conflict at all costs. They run from the tough conversations. When you try to bring up a serious issue, they shut down, change the subject, or worse, they storm out of the room. They are so terrified of confrontation that they would rather let the relationship rot from the inside out than face a difficult truth. This isn't being peaceful, it's being a coward. This avoidance creates a breeding ground for resentment. Problems that could be solved with a single honest conversation are left to fester and grow into massive, insurmountable issues. You feel like you're walking on eggshells, afraid to bring anything up, because you know your partner will just retreat into their shell like a frightened turtle. You're left to carry the emotional burden of the relationship's problems all by yourself. It's lonely, and honestly, it's infuriating. A healthy relationship requires courage from both people. It requires the guts to say, hey, we need to talk about this, and the fortitude to stay in the room and work through it even when it's uncomfortable. A partner who is a duwag is incapable of doing the necessary work to maintain a relationship. They are a passenger, not a co-pilot. If you are with someone who consistently runs from every real issue, you have to recognize that you cannot build a future with someone who is afraid to build the present. That cowardice is a dead-end red flag. Disgracia. It's a powerful word that means accident, disaster, or tragedy. When you apply it to a relationship, it refers to that feeling that you are on a collision course. You see the disaster coming. It's like you're in a car, and the brakes have failed, and you're heading straight for a brick wall. You know it's going to end badly. All the signs are there, the constant fighting, the betrayals, the contempt, the emotional distance. The disgracia is the inevitable catastrophic conclusion. This feeling of impending doom is a huge red flag because it means, on a subconscious level, you have already accepted that the relationship is unsalvageable. You're no longer operating with hope. You're operating in damage control mode, just waiting for the crash. This creates a state of hypervigilance and anxiety. You're constantly bracing for impact. You can't relax, you can't be vulnerable, you can't plan for a future because you don't believe there will be one. People stay in these situations for all sorts of reasons. Fear of being alone, financial dependence, concern for the kids. But living in the shadow of an impending disgracia is toxic. It's a slow-motion car crash that is wrecking your emotional and mental health every single day. Recognizing that you are headed for disaster is the first step toward grabbing the steering wheel and changing direction. You don't have to ride it all the way to the crash site. You are allowed to get out of the car. Sometimes, a partner's behavior is so destructive, so cruel, so lacking in empathy that there's only one word that seems to fit: demonio or demon. Now, I'm not talking about supernatural possession here. I'm talking about a metaphor for a person who seems to thrive on creating pain, chaos, and misery. This is the partner who is a narcissist, a sociopath, or who has other severe personality disorders. They are wolves in sheep's clothing. This demonio is charming at first. They love bomb you, making you feel like you're the most special person in the world. But once they have you hooked, the mask comes off. They become controlling, manipulative, and emotionally abusive. They isolate you from your friends and family. They belittle you, criticize you, and chip away at your self-esteem until you feel worthless. They enjoy your pain. They feed on your fear and confusion. Their goal isn't partnership, it's domination. Being in a relationship with a demonio is like being trapped in a psychological prison. They are masters of making you feel like everything is your fault. You become a shell of your former self, constantly anxious and trying to appease them. This is not a red flag. This is a siren with flashing lights and a bullhorn screaming, "Get out now!" This is not a relationship you can fix. You cannot love the demon out of them. Your only job is to recognize the danger you are in and find a safe way to escape. The phrase damihin mo ex mo translates to something like, you feel your ex, or, you're still carrying a torch for your ex. This red flag is really about unresolved feelings for a past partner. It's when your current partner is physically with you, but emotionally, they're still kind of tethered to their ex. They talk about them constantly, whether it's with anger or with this wistful nostalgia. It feels like every story somehow circles back to something they did with their ex. They might compare you to the ex, sometimes favorably, sometimes not. Like, my ex used to love this restaurant, or you're so much better at this than my ex was. Either way, the ex becomes this ghost in the room, a third person in your relationship. Sometimes they might still have pictures of their ex all over their social media, or keep mementos from their past relationship in plain sight. They really haven't emotionally closed the door on that chapter, which means they can't fully open the door to a future with you. In the end, you end up feeling like you're in a competition with a ghost. You're constantly being measured against a memory, and honestly, that's a competition you can never win. A person who hasn't fully processed and moved on from a past love simply can't be fully present and available for a new one. If your partner is still feeling their ex, they're just not ready for a serious relationship with you. You deserve to be the main character in your own love story, not just a supporting actor in the sequel to theirs. Is every single conversation in your relationship disputable? Do you ever feel like you have to lawyer up just to decide what to have for dinner? This red flag is all about living in a state of constant contention. Nothing is easy. Every opinion gets challenged, every decision turns into a debate, and every discussion somehow becomes an argument. It's almost as if your partner's default setting is just disagree. And this isn't like healthy debate or stimulating conversation. It's a relentless, draining battle of wills. This constant need to dispute everything often comes from a deeper issue of control, or honestly, a lack of respect. The person who argues every point is basically saying, my opinion is more valid than yours, my way is better than yours. It's not about finding the best solution, it's about winning. This kind of dynamic turns a partnership into a courtroom where you're always on the defensive, constantly trying to justify your feelings, your thoughts, and your choices. It's absolutely exhausting. A relationship should be your soft place to land, not a constant battlefield. You should be able to express a thought or a feeling without having to prepare for a cross-examination. If you find that peace and agreement are the rare exceptions in your relationship, and most of your interactions are just disputes and arguments, you really need to see that for the major red flag it is. This is not a sustainable or healthy way to live. You're not partners, you're opponents. Let's talk about the word dead. It's harsh, it's final, and sometimes it's honestly the only word that really describes the state of a relationship. This is when all the feeling is gone. There's no more love, but at the same time, there's no more anger. There's no more passion, but there's also no more fighting. There is just nothing. A vast, silent, emotional emptiness. The relationship isn't just on life support. The plug has been pulled, and now you're just two people coexisting in the same space. This state of deadness is often the final stage. After all the fighting and crying is over, you've both just given up. You're roommates, not partners. You go through the motions of your daily lives, but there's no connection, no intimacy, no joy. You talk about logistics, like who's picking up the kids, what bills need to be paid, but you don't talk about your lives, your dreams, or your feelings. The silence between you is deafening. A lot of people stay in a dead relationship for years, out of familiarity, comfort, or maybe just fear of the unknown. They think, well, at least we're not fighting. But let me tell you, indifference is far more deadly to a relationship than anger. Anger at least means someone still cares enough to feel something. Apathy is the end. If you look at your partner and feel nothing, and you know they feel nothing for you, you're not in a relationship. You're just presiding over a long, slow funeral. That is a red flag telling you it's time for a resurrection in your own life, even if it means leaving the tomb of that relationship. You know, this phrase, dead spark may lamat na, is honestly so descriptive. It means the spark is dead and there's already a crack. It really builds on the idea of a dead relationship, but adds this crucial element, the lamat or crack. This signifies that a specific damaging event has happened that killed the spark and at the same time fractured the foundation. The crack is the point of no return that we talked about earlier. It's the affair, the ultimate betrayal, the unforgivable lie. The spark doesn't just die of old age, it was extinguished by a specific trauma. The lamat is the scar left behind. You can try to ignore it or patch it over, but it's always there, a weak point in the structure of your relationship. Every time you look at your partner, you're reminded of the crack. You're reminded of the betrayal. The trust is not just damaged, it's fundamentally broken. The innocence of the relationship is gone forever. Trying to revive a spark after the foundation has cracked is honestly, more often than not, a futile effort. You're trying to light a fire on a surface that just can't hold it. The memory of the betrayal, the lamat, constantly undermines any new attempts at intimacy or connection. It's a permanent flaw in the relationship's integrity. Recognizing that the spark is dead of a crack is a really critical red flag. It tells you that this isn't just a slump you can get out of. It's a fundamental structural failure that may, sadly, be impossible to repair. In every breakup, there's a dumper and a dumpee. Today, let's talk about the role of the dumper. This is the person who initiates the end of the relationship. Now you might think, well, what's the red flag here? They're just ending things. But the pattern of being a dumper can be very telling. Is your partner a serial dumper? Do they have a long history of being the one to walk away from every serious relationship they've ever had? If so, that's a pattern you need to pay attention to. It can indicate someone who is conflict avoidant, like the duwag we discussed. Instead of working through problems, their solution is always to hit the eject button. It can also signal a fear of intimacy or commitment. They get close to a certain point, and then they get scared and run, leaving a trail of broken hearts behind them. They are always in control of the ending because they never let anyone get close enough to potentially leave them first. Furthermore, how they dump people matters. Are they respectful and honest, or are they cruel and cowardly? Do they ghost people? Do they break up via text? A person's character is revealed in how they treat people, especially when they are ending a relationship. If your partner has a history of being a chronic, cold-hearted dumper, you have to ask yourself why you think you'll be the exception. That pattern is a red flag that suggests they may lack the skills and the emotional maturity for a lasting partnership. You might just be next in line. Let's address the desperada, or the desperate one. This red flag can apply to you or to your partner, and it's toxic either way. When one person in the relationship is operating from a place of desperation, it creates a massive power imbalance. The desperate person is terrified of being alone. They will accept any kind of bad behavior, disrespect, neglect, even abuse, because they believe that a bad relationship is better than no relationship at all. This desperation makes them clingy, needy, and willing to erase their own boundaries to please their partner. They lose their sense of self. Their entire world revolves around keeping the other person from leaving. This isn't love, it's fear. And the other partner, whether consciously or not, can feel this desperation. It can lead them to lose respect, take the desperate person for granted, and push the boundaries even further because they know there will be no consequences. If you are the desperada, you need to recognize that your fear of being alone is a trap that is keeping you in an unhealthy situation. You must find the strength to believe that you are worthy of a good relationship and that being alone is far better than being with someone who makes you feel small. If your partner is the desperate one, it can be a huge burden and can prevent a truly equal partnership. Desperation is a red flag that signals a deep-seated insecurity that will poison any relationship it touches. This final D word is a devastating one. Dadami adultery, meaning adultery is increasing or becoming more frequent. This isn't about a single isolated mistake, as damaging as that is. This is about a pattern of escalating infidelity. It's when cheating becomes a habit, a regular feature of the relationship. The lies become more elaborate, the absences more frequent, the deception a constant hum in the background of your lives. When adultery is on the rise, it signals a complete and utter breakdown of respect, commitment, and love. The person who is repeatedly cheating is living a double life. They have demonstrated through their actions, time and time again, that they do not value their partner or their vows. They are seeking validation, excitement, or emotional connection outside the relationship because they are either unwilling or unable to address the problems within it. It's the ultimate act of selfishness and betrayal. To be the partner on the receiving end of escalating adultery is to live in a constant state of torment. Your trust is shattered into a million pieces. Your self-esteem is decimated. You live with constant anxiety, suspicion, and heartbreak. This is not a rough patch. This is a 5-alarm fire of a red flag. A pattern of increasing adultery is not a sign that you need to try harder. It's a sign that the relationship is over and the person you are with has no integrity. It's a clear, painful signal that you must save yourself and get out. We've been through a lot today. A whole alphabet of dysfunction, all starting with D. Detachment, dishonesty, doubt, disloyalty. These aren't just words. They are painful realities for too many people. The purpose of this wasn't to scare you or to make you cynical about love. The purpose was to arm you, to give you the language and the clarity to see what's really going on in your own life. You have to be an active participant in your own rescue, and that starts with being vigilant. It starts with paying attention to these red flags. Don't be the person who looks back 5 years from now and says, "I knew it then, but I did nothing." Be proactive. If you see these signs, you have to address them. That doesn't always mean you have to walk away immediately. It means you have to have the courage to start the tough conversations. It means you have to set boundaries. It means you have to demand respect. And if your partner is unwilling to meet you there, if they refuse to change their destructive behavior, then you have the information you need to make a decision. Remember, recognizing these signs early is a gift you give to your future self. It's the key to making informed, empowered decisions about who gets to have a place in your life. You are the gatekeeper of your own heart and your own well-being. Don't hand that key over to someone who has proven they can't be trusted with it. You deserve a relationship that is a safe harbor, not a battlefield. You deserve honesty, loyalty, and a partner who is all in. Don't you ever settle for anything less. It's time to get real.